Hello, everyone, and if you're listening on the radio, welcome to Let's Talk Catholic. If you're watching it through the YouTube channel, then you can see that it's me, Father Scott Lawler. I have two guests. This is something that comes really from the fact that for years now, I've been doing funerals for people, etc., and almost nobody says in their obituaries, and please think about giving a donation to a parish or the diocese or a Catholic charity. And we actually, here in rural Michigan, since there aren't that many of us, we need people to be giving to us, to the parishes, to the diocese where David's from. And as you're going to hear, there's a great opportunity for covers a whole lot of things. And so Tom might be talking more, be unusual if he's talking more than me, of course, but he might be talking more than me because there's a kind of cloud of mystery that sometimes goes over the organisation that he represents. They are not at loggerheads, the two of them. In fact, they can explain what the relationship is. So it's not a case of either or, parish or the foundation or the diocese. This is about what are the ways for Catholics or non-Catholics to further the mission of the Church, to help us with the very necessary fundings we have. And if you're sitting there thinking, is that not what CSA is about? No. CSA only skims the top. It's like a yearly budget kind of thing, and Dave can talk more about that, and he will talk more about that than me. CSA doesn't give Dave the chance to really build fundamental things. I wouldn't have thought, but anyway. So before now we carry on. I will give. We'll go with Tom first because he's older than Dave. So Tom, introduce yourself, please, and as long as you feel necessary, tell us about your organisation.
Perfect. My name is Tom Hardy. I'm the president of the Northern Michigan Catholic Foundation. I've been with the foundation just short of 3 years. It'll be 3 years in October. The foundation was started in 1998 by Bishop Cooney, and at the time it was really created to protect some of the assets of the diocese, some of the assets that they had, and to put them into endowments for specific purposes.
Can I just, before you carry on, 1998, right?
Yeah.
So it has nothing to do with protecting money because of abuse.
Oh my gosh, no, absolutely not.
No, but you know,
yeah,
when people hear, sadly, when people hear it was to do something to protect the assets, they're thinking, oh yeah, because you didn't want people to sue you. But this all happened before the court cases in Boston, which were 2001, weren't they? I think that's anyway. So sorry.
And perhaps I should use a different word, not necessarily protecting the assets, but really smartly investing assets and then protecting those assets, not from lawsuits or wrongful issues or anything that would go on, but truly for healthy financial perspective,
good business
sense and practice, for the long term. Right. And that's what we do. So at our core, the foundation is created to, we create endowments for any Catholic organization, any purpose specific Catholic mission that may go on. So we have organizational endowments, we have purpose-driven endowments, we have cemetery endowments. I believe I have 23 endowments for our cemeteries across the diocese now, which is a passion of mine, and we can jump into that at another discussion. But we have 112 endowments within our foundation right now. And what that means, it's great that we have those, but all those investments, anytime you create an endowment, it's for a specific purpose. It may be for an individual parish, like I mentioned, like a cemetery, one of our schools, a scholarship fund. Any interest that you have, we can create an endowment for. That money is invested, and then the earnings off of that investment is sent back to that organization or whatever purpose is set up for that specific endowment every year. So what's great, our foundation right now, we have $57 million in assets under management. And it's a big number to say, but the best part of that number is that we are sending back almost $2 million every year back into our Catholic community within our diocese specifically.
Okay, so talk me through this. I've got 10 grand.
Yeah.
Right. Do I give you that 10 grand and then you do something with it? Or do I say to you, I've got 10 grand, I'd like it to help All Saints School in Alpena? How does it work? Or is it both those things possible?
Both of those things are possible. So you can come to us with 10 grand, $1,000, $1 million, whatever it may be, whatever you have, whatever you're thinking about. And if there is already an endowment created for the purpose that you are interested in, then we can invest that money into that endowment. And if it's not there, then we can create a new endowment. We're creating new endowments all the time.
Okay, so as a parish priest, if someone approaches me and says, I've got 10 grand, can I approach you and say, I'd like this to be an endowment for this parish?
Absolutely.
Okay. Who's on the, if you're able to name them, who's on the board? Who says either yay or nay to if someone wants
to create endowment? Yeah, great question, because our board consists currently of 9 lay people across the diocese. We also have Father Rolando Silva, who is on our board. Father Hayden is on our board. And then the bishop is a non-voting member on our board.
Right.
And that's important because we listen to the bishop and we hear different things that are going around the diocese. But he's a non-voting member. And that's important because we're completely separate from the diocese. We're our own entity. The diocese is a customer of ours, the same as any parish. So it's any parish, anybody that we create an endowment for, the diocese is a customer just like ours.
So the board isn't answerable to anybody apart from each other?
That's correct.
Okay.
So our board, and they take their job very seriously.
Yeah.
Our board
I probably should point out that Father Rolando Silva is a CPA, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
has a background in finance, a lot of finance and things like that, because I know him quite well.
Yeah, so, he does, and he's been a great asset for our board, and I believe he's been on the board for 2 years. Joel Myler is our president of our board. Father Hayden is the vice president of our board. John Pitts is the chair of our investment committee. John is a member of St. Francis Parish in Traverse City. Ron Harris is an accountant.
That would be the not as famous St. Francis Parish.
Not as famous
as this one.
Yes, yeah. And not as famous as yes.
I just had to do that.
That's very fair to say.
Yeah, thank you. God bless you. Are all the people on the board, are they all Catholics?
All Catholics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are they all got finance backgrounds or business backgrounds? Or
finance, business, accounting. We have attorneys on the board.
Okay.
And that's very important because when you talk about estate planning and how you're thinking about planning your estate, we rely on the attorneys on our board for a lot of their knowledge and expertise.
Mm-hmm.
As we discuss any new fund, where our growth opportunities are, how can we better serve all the parishioners and all the parishes, all of our customers, how can we do that? So you think about legal, you think about finance, you think about all those different things. And they're all kind of experts in their specific area of expertise in their fields. And so for them to be a part of us is a great thing.
How did they get on the board? How did that work?
It's all been conversation and innate growth. So it's been conversation when we meet new people and we find new people. We've really kind of made it a focus and a real want to have it diversified across our diocese too. For a long time, it was fairly Traverse City centric, and that's because yeah, I know.
No, get out of here! No.
And what we really didn't want, and this is by their mission and mine when I came in 3 years ago, we need to represent our diocese across everywhere.
Amen.
And so we need to hear voices from all parts of our diocese, not just certain areas.
Yeah.
So that's been really important. And we have...
just so people are clear on this, Tom, so the county we're filming in is, I think it's the 3rd poorest county in the whole of Michigan. And so we have people below the poverty line. And so, yes, there are some parts of our diocese that are very much in need of access, perhaps, to endowments or ways of having a voice.
Having a vote, correct?
Yeah. So yeah, I applaud that. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have members in Sheboygan, we have members in Petoskey. There's a couple other folks that we're evaluating now to bring onto our board. We don't have a set number of people that we can have on our board.
Okay.
We just want to make sure we have the right people on the board. So they're excellent, and that's who I report to. I am the only employee of the Northern Michigan Catholic Foundation. So
I was going to ask you that because I seem to recall.
Yeah. So I'm the only employee, and part of that is by design, with the standpoint that we're really trying to keep our costs as low as we possibly can. We view the money that is put into our endowments, it's not ours. We're stewards of that. And so we need to make sure that we are spending it and not having excessive, expenses. Our office, I work out of my home because my office is here. My office is in all the meeting places that I go to.
And I was going to maybe get you to talk about that, about your accessibility.
Yeah.
That you're willing to travel anywhere in the diocese to
anywhere, anytime, to have a conversation, whether it's one person or.
So how do people get a hold of you?
You can reach me by going to our website. You can go to if you search Northern Michigan Catholic Foundation, but you can find us at nmcatholicfoundation.org. You can reach me on my cell phone. I'm happy to share that, 231-633-1614. You can reach me in the office, 231-922-9070, or you can send me an email, and that's tom@nmcatholicfoundation.org.
Okay. It wouldn't be me if I didn't ask this. Why don't you have a saint's name?
Me personally?
No, you do. Thomas is a saint,
Yeah.
right? Even I know that, right? Why is it not, for talking's sake, why is it not the St. Matthew Northern Michigan Catholic Foundation?
That's an excellent question.
I would like you to bring that up at the next board meeting.
I will certainly
It
find that.
doesn't need to be St. Matthew, although obviously he's the patron saint of accountants.
Mm-hmm.
It could be St. Isidore of Seville, who invented is the patron of computers and all things counting, because he was a mathematician. I just think that Catholic things.
Saint Paul, as far as the patron saint of fundraising and philanthropy, is certainly somebody we have. I have an intern this summer, Rob Myler, who goes to Notre Dame. He's the son of Joel. And he created 2 prayer cards for us, and one is St. Paul. And so we'll be sharing with those with folks as well. So not necessarily having a saint in our name as part of that, but we are embracing some of that and making sure we're continuing
That's an
to let people
item
know
for you
that.
to bring up to them.
I will make my
Oh
first
God,
notes.
yes. Oh God bless you again. You're going to have to really blow this out of the water, mate.
Hey, I got
right? So okay. What kind of things would you not entertain? You say any Catholic thing, Catholic organisations, but it surely can't just be, somebody can't just come to you and say, there's 10 of us and we'd like to create something, here's the money. Have they got to have a connection with the diocese or something like that?
We have to have a connection with any Catholic mission within our diocese. So anything that we invest in, all of money. We can talk about the specifics of that later, but everything we invest in is it's invested in what we believe in as Catholics. And so if you have that mission, every endowment or anything that we are supporting is going to be within our Catholic faith. So any of your local community foundations, if you're looking to support, something different, they'll create an endowment for anything that you want to support on a long-term basis. But ours is specific for Catholic focused missions.
Okay, now one of the myths that's out there that priests think is a thing to do with your foundation is you invest the money and you can't get at it. Explain.
Sure. So
explain what actually happens.
So a true endowment, that any portion, the principal, the corpus of your money is invested. And then a true endowment is sending you a distribution, a dividend off of that, a percentage of the earnings. So we do that. We follow that in one respect.
So is this the equivalent of interest if you take out a CD in a bank, the interest?
That's correct.
Right.
Exactly the
Okay.
same. So with us, if you create an endowment, we allow 1/3 of whatever your corpus or your principal is. So let's use that $10,000 that we were talking about. If you invested $10,000 with us and created a new endowment, you could have 1/3 of that, $3,333, into what we call a sub or spendable account. So it's somewhat of a quasi endowment. So that 1/3 is always accessible to you until it's spent. But that $6,667 that you put in initially is protected forever. And the idea of that is that it's going to every year, it's going to continue to grow from the earnings off of the investment, and then a distribution is going to take place. So you get a distribution every year based on the total amount that you have.
Okay.
But then you also have access to 1/3 of it.
If a parish, obviously wouldn't be this St. Francis, perhaps the other one, had 100 grand and they invested it, they put it into the foundation. If something happened, if they had a building was, the new rectory or something was burned down, can they at all get the 100 back?
They can't take the entire amount back. They can take
So
whatever is there in their sub or spendable account. And again, part of that,
from that point of view, it is true that if you're going to put money in, some of it's untouchable then, but you are getting the fruit of it.
That's correct.
Right.
Yeah, you're going to gain the interest off of that, how it's invested every year. And the market has been extremely good the last 3 years. So we have seen a lot of growth based on the interest, and every year. So your fund is growing every year at a really good rate right now. But you also have access to that portion that's there. And then a lot of what our funds do is they take their distribution, and they're not necessarily spending it, but if they have spent down their spendable portion, they take the distribution and just reinvest it into their spendable portion. And so now they have money that they can access again when they need it for any annual or capital expense that you may have at your parish.
So could I, in this parish, for example, could I ask 100 people, can you give me a grand? And every year, can you give me another grand? And keep adding to that, and the endowment of that be for my buildings, or could it be for anything? Could I do it like that? Can it be multiple people putting into something and then topping it up?
Absolutely. Anytime a new donation.
Is anybody doing what I just said?
Not in that exact frame, but we do have parishes that are looking at, they look at, their finance councils look at it every month. And if they have a surplus, they send money into their endowment. And so they know that the money is being invested, and they know that if they have maximized their spendable account, meaning that 1/3, again, $100,000, so they had $33,000+ in their spendable account. Anytime a new donation comes in, it's 2/3 and 1/3. So we continue to grow both sides. So if you had 2 years in a row of people giving you $100,000, you'd immediately have $66,000 in the spendable account, but you'd have $200,000 as a whole that's earning interest, that's going to have a greater return every year.
Okay.
So if you take any of that money out when you need a new roof, so you don't have to go ask, or you don't have to do a big fundraiser, you need a new roof, you need to pave your parking lot, your boiler goes out, your air conditioning goes out, any of that sort of thing that happens, then you have money that's accessible. All you have to do is send us a letter and we send you a check.
Okay. Does the foundation, Dave might remember this, who it is, they do calendars. There's a Catholic organisation you can appeal to for things if you really do things in your parish. I can't remember what they're called, but does the foundation, if I was needed a new roof, does the foundation, would I be able to access, could I get money to help me do that?
from whatever is in your account.
No, but if I don't have.
If you don't have the money, if you don't have an endowment,
Yeah.
and you needed money for something, could you come to us and
Yes.
ask for it?
Yes.
So all of our endowments are specific in nature for any, when it's created and it's continually funded, it's for a specific purpose.
Yeah.
We have one endowment that was created that is our discretionary fund. So we have one endowment that is a discretionary fund that we meet, our board meets. We'll be discussing it at our next board meeting.
Right.
Where are we going to fund? So if somebody does need help in a specific area, they can send for different things. And we have helped numerous different causes for different things.
Okay, I wish I could remember the whichever organization. It's a national organization, Catholic Fund. It's a foundation, but you can appeal to them. They do calendars. That's why it was in my head. You can appeal to them for things like building funds or new vestments, a new altar, and stuff like that. And so you don't do
Catholic
that.
Extension. Like
That's it. Thank you, Dave. I knew you would know it. Yes, they do that kind of thing, don't they?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yes.
And it's a foundation essentially that fundraises and they give grants for different things to dioceses that qualify. You have to be an extension diocese and meet certain financial criteria.
But you don't do that. So what I'm asking him, they don't do that then. They don't do what Catholic Extensions do.
It's different. They have the ability to do small grants within that fund that they have, but not Catholic Extension is essentially a large foundation, and what they do is they'll offer the opportunity within Extension Diocese. They have, for example, they have a deadline of November 1st every year. You can apply for different grants for different projects, and then what they do is they often go and they try to match. If you have a request from your diocese, say it's seminary and education, they'll try to match either with an existing fund they have or with a donor that they work with who they know might be sensitive or willing to give toward that. And they try to marry the two. Okay. So they're kind of like an intermediary for an extension diocese.
Okay, but you don't do that. You have, as Dave said, like you were touching upon, you have access to the interest from the one that you guys have created that's not named, it's not got attached to anything.
That's correct. Okay. And that fund is the Arnie Oaks Fund, and Arnie Oaks was one of the initial donors that contributed to our foundation. Okay. And so, his whole purpose was for us to be able to decide where that money is going to be spent throughout the year.
Okay. Could people, if people are watching this, listening to this, and they want to just give in order and let you guys decide, is that how they would do it to the Arnie Oaks?
Yes, absolutely. Yep. If you're interested in continuing to support just like that, the Arnie Oaks Fund is a fund that you could donate to, and that money would be put into the endowment.
What kind of things have you used the Arnie Oak to help?
One of the first things that comes to mind is, we're supporting the diocese right now. One of the diocese is working on a cemetery project. Where every cemetery across our diocese is going into a computer software program. And getting that off the ground was an expensive piece and not something that the diocese had budgeted. As you had mentioned before, it's not part of CSA. It's not part of, that's not something that was there, that's already there. So it was a new project, new fund. And so we're helping them with that. We've helped our Catholic schools go to the National Right to Life March across the diocese. We have used it for different initiatives for new funds. If parishes are interested in creating it, and this was 4 years ago, right before I started. If a parish or a school or somebody was interested in creating a new fund, there was a matching. We used that amount for a matching part to help seed all those initial funds for that. We've helped out the pregnancy care centers. We've helped out numerous different things across the years.
How is that done? Do people write to?
They do.
You better give us the email address again then.
Yeah, it's tom@nmcatholicfoundation.org. If there's a cause or if there's something that you're interested in, please feel free to send me an email and send me documentation on it, and then we'll set up a time to talk. So
do you lean towards encouraging matching? If you're doing it for a parish, are you more likely, is a parish more likely to get it because you say we can give you $5,000 if you raise $5,000?
Absolutely.
I mean, I think that's what we did here.
Yeah.
For the stuff.
It's a great way, and that's one of the things we've really encouraged, and we're really encouraging parishes, just create one, create an endowment, and we can talk about that more as we go. But if an endowment is created, then it gives somebody an opportunity to leave it in their estate, leave a gift, start thinking about your parish as another child. Start thinking about, so if you have 3 kids, add your parish in as the 4th section of your estate when you're going to leave it, no matter the size of your estate, no matter the percentage of what you're going to give. When you start thinking about how can you leave however much you're giving annually to your parish, if every one of our parishioners started thinking about how they could do that with their estate, if they left money to their parish endowment, the parish would not be struggling for money from a finance perspective if we were able to do that.
But I'll tell you something else, and then Dave, once I've said this, you can please tell us what put beef on the bones of what your job is.
Sure.
This is something that I recently discussed. I mentioned it in a homily, but I recently discussed with my parish finance that some people have been given $5 for the collection for the last 20 years, which means now they're actually giving, I think it was worked out, that would actually be the equivalent of giving something like $2.20. So that's an ongoing problem that you're fighting all the time.
Right.
I would have thought. So tell us what you can about yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
And about the job, which you're still relatively new to.
Relatively new, Been about a little over a year, about 13 months I've been with the guys.
So proper title is?
Director of Development, and that basically encompasses a wide variety of things. I oversee the annual Catholic Services Appeal, the appeal that goes out to cover
the tax.
Yes, the not tax, the thing that I loved what you said before when we were just chatting on the side. The basically, essentially, the bishop's evangelization fund, the ability for the diocese to operate and go and do God's work in Northern Michigan, and that's the bare minimum.
Let me just ask you this, because this is the first time we've met. If it was a tax, right, would you even have taken the job? No, right.
No, I wouldn't want to touch that. No,
exactly.
No chance.
Right, exactly. Right.
So it's a really great way for people to support. And for the most part, most people around Northern Michigan are very generous throughout our diocese. Most parishes do fairly well with it, and it's a chance every year for people to give to the greater Catholic Church, not just their local church, but the services throughout our diocese that assist their local church, that assist their sister parishes throughout the diocese. But then, in a way, part of it goes towards national collections, things like that we don't just pass on to the parishes individually. Otherwise, it'd be a second collection every other week. So the diocese handles
actually,
one of those.
And on that, I've said this. I think I said this when I did the programs with your predecessor. The diocese I came here from in France, we had 48 second collections every year. It was a very, very active diocese. The radio station and stuff like that. But 48 second collections.
That's a lot.
Yes. Then you would be justified in saying all the Catholic Church is talking about is money. You would be justified in that.
Right.
But we don't have 48 second collections. But roughly, didn't ask you this beforehand, but roughly as a guesstimate, if we didn't have CSA, how many second collections do you think we would need to have?
There'd be in excess of
30?
20.
Definitely more than 20.
Every other week. There would be a minimum of, say, 26. So every other week you'd be doing at bare minimum, just to make things work, to support the things the USCCB wants the diocese to support, and then beyond that, just to support the things to keep the diocese operational.
Anyway, sorry. So development. What is that?
Right. So essentially, beyond the CSA scope, it's anything that the bishop sees worthy of funding. My job is to go out and find a way of funding it. So it could be, you have to get a little creative sometimes. It could be through grants, like we spoke about Catholic Extension. They're our #1 grant giving entity, and that's a program, a foundation that dioceses have to qualify for. And that's based on the size of the diocese, the finances of the diocese, and the finances of the area you're in too. So more affluent areas aren't going to necessarily be in that. Areas more rural, the northern Michigan kind of thing.
So you have to write grant applications.
Yes, correct. Quite a bit.
I was going to ask how much of your time is spent doing that.
I would say it depends on the part of the year, because like November 1st is the deadline, because we operate on a fiscal year of July 1 to June 30th. So November 1st is Catholic Extension's deadline. So the month of October, that's the bulk of my job, is just writing, just going through it, fine tuning it, bringing things to Bishop, bringing things to the entities that we're asking for. Throughout the rest of the year, there are some other organizations that we do seek grants from, but it's a little more hit or miss. It's a lesser part of the job.
Part of the reason I ask you that, you've listened to the programs I did about CSA, so you've helped me do this, right? What I like to do. So, who pays your wages?
The CSA, the parishioners.
If there wasn't your position, if we didn't have CSA and we didn't have your position, how would we get these grants?
Great question. It wouldn't. There'd be no one there specifically,
right? We'd need to have volunteers trying to fit it in, wouldn't we?
Right. Or in the past, before this position existed, it was handled by the department that was looking for the money. So if it was Faith Formation looking for it, they had to write it. But then you're dealing with people who don't necessarily know or want to do those things. And what happens is you never wind up applying, because they look at that and it's an intimidating process. And they say, I'm not gonna do that. And then you leave the grant money on the table.
Yeah, in one of my previous parishes, I never applied for a grant, because nobody ever, until I came along and I had friends that could do it, and so we got a grant for that. Because people, people think we're talking about filling a form, but it ain't as simple as that. You've got to sell the idea.
You do, and it's competitive to get a lot of these grants. There's a lot. There's a lot out there, a lot that goes into it. You'll need, for most of them, you'll need some sort of financial documentation. If it's a building project, for example, they don't want you to say, "Oh, we have this dream. This is going to cost us $100,000." They want to see estimates from contractors, multiple estimates. They want to see photographs. They want to see renderings of what it's going to look after. And then in the situation where you win that competition, a lot of times there's follow-up conversations that happen with the entity. And then if you're awarded that grant, there's a series of reports you have to file throughout the process.
Which is long overdue, because we do need those things.
Right.
Because we should have good governance.
Yes.
Because, as again, I think he didn't maybe say it, but Tom alluded to it, he's looking after other people's money.
Yes.
You're looking after other people's money. I'm looking after other people's money. There should be good governance. If there isn't good governance, shame on us, right?
Yep.
So, yeah.
So they want to know like the short term, the progress of the project. They want to know the after. And then if this is something where you reference the future, you say, hey, in 3 years from now, this is our big scope goal. This is why we're doing this. They're going to come back to even 3 years from now and say, okay, 3 years ago, you said this. Is this the way that worked out for your diocese? So there's a lot that goes into
the development that you're looking at. It's not just bricks and mortar, is it?
Correct.
So what it's the scope of everything Catholic, isn't it?
Right. It's any sort of idea. So beyond the scope of CSA or the grants, a lot of it then comes to, this is what I kind of think is the fun stuff. And it's, there's a specific project. So for example, we have a group that our Faith Formation director, Amy Peterson, is going to take the World Youth Day in conjunction with the Diocese of Saginaw. So she says, okay, we have these people, they're going to pay this much, it's expensive. We need to charter a bus to get to the airport. Just the way this is going to have to work to get to Seoul, South Korea next year. So she'll come to me and say, Dave, I have this is what we need. Is there a way you can find a donor? So then part of my job, a fun part, is to get to know the people in our diocese, build relationships with them, get to know what they're passionate about. And then you can match it up. So Amy can come to me and say, okay, we need this bus. And I can go through my mind and say, okay, well, I talked to this person a month ago who was a retired person, but him and his wife were very active downstate in youth ministry before they retired to Northern Michigan. And this might resonate very well with them. So I might contact them and say, hey, is this something that you'd be willing to help the diocese with? And it's matching, from large to small scale things. Some of it is much more abstract, like you're saying. There's a project that we actually just got the seed gift for last night. It's going to be a fund with the Northern Michigan Catholic Foundation for a project called Clergy Care, which Bishop Walsh found out about through the USCCB. And essentially, it's a way to, clergy by nature don't have that person all the times looking out for their medical needs, things like that. So this is basically that person that this group comes on, and they're able to help walk through different health issues, different concerns, things like that. But there's a cost that goes along with it.
Yeah.
So we're creating an endowment, and we're trying to sell that a little bit so we can have that in perpetuity.
I'm smiling because Bishop Raker asked me, because my background is I was in RN for 20 years. Bishop Raker asked me, would I be willing to take on a position like that?
Really?
And I said to him, do you really want me to go around and say and I named someone in particular who's grossly obese,
Right.
and say, you've got, now speaking to you as a priest, you've got disordered appetite. There's a problem here. Instead of praying as much as you should be, you're clearly feeding your face that much, and you're going to get diabetes. You're going to be sweating a lot. You're probably going to need a CPAP. And Bishop Raker said, I hear what you're saying, Father.
Right.
So,
well, the nice thing about this is it takes all of us out of it. We never have to
yeah.
have those conversations. This entity,
exactly.
and a lot of it is pairing.
He did say
people
to me,
with,
I would have found it very entertaining
oh, yeah,
for you to do it,
right.
for you to do it, Father. But you're right. Maybe it's not a good idea for you to do that.
Right, right. So an entity like this, they'll handle everything. They help, priests get appointments and follow-throughs, and if you have a hospitalization, they're there with the priest and all those sort of things. And we've hired a staff member now in the diocesan office that's part of that team. So it's a great thing, but that all costs money. So we're creating a new endowment with NMCF to fund that in perpetuity.
Yeah.
And we're starting from scratch. So a lot of it's going out and selling this idea of not just, hey, it's great we have the vocations thing. We need priests.
I think this is something that this is one of the benefits of having you both talk about this is too many people. So we have a lot of people who retire up here, right? Right. But too many people. In fact, I'll give you this. Probably puts it better as an image. I had a funeral years ago, and a guy turned. It was his brother, and the guy turned up, and he was in a Hawaiian shirt, shorts, and flip flops, right? And his sister said to him, "Why are you at a funeral like this?" And he said, "I'm retired. I'm not wearing a shirt and tie ever again." And you're thinking, all right, you've lost the plot, pal. but I think people, this is something we found out here in the diocese, because we're in the parish rather, we're on our 80th anniversary, right? And in the 40th anniversary, the then parish priest, he wrote an article for it, and he said, predominantly we have snowbirds, retired people, very few families. As he said that 40 years ago. So that it sounded, I could write that now. But the young people for many of our parishes are actually the people who are 60 to 75 who are active. They're the young people.
Right.
And so there is room for development. This is my point. My point is, we are a diocese that's growing, right? We might not be growing from having lots and lots of kids and families in the church here, but there never was. Right? There never was in Onaway. The places that have got the families have got the families, right? Yeah. And so when somebody hears the term development or a foundation, right, I'm wondering if people are thinking, well, what is there to develop? We've got a diocese. So when you're mentioning about now that is obviously specifically clergy care, but we all know this, that if we can't keep our priests healthy, then we don't just have attrition through natural means, we have attrition through them becoming disabled, through health, heart, etc. And if we don't have a foundation, we've got nothing to build on. So what are the things, so if you can, right, what are the, I mean, you're basically the director of the Bishop's Wish List.
Basically, and part of it I see too is there's a little bit of evangelization involved too. And an example I can
by networking, there must be.
Right. And an example I can use for is, just going along with what you were saying, a lot of the dioceses, a lot of the parishes are older population. And a lot of the people that give, we know through statistics to our CSA are older people. So in the areas where we have some younger people, or the parishes where we have schools and families, how can we bring them into the fold? So one of the things that you guys do here that I think is awesome is use Venmo, and we use that for the first time as a diocese.
You better say what that is.
Venmo, okay, it's an online giving tool where people can essentially use their phones, and you point and click at a QR code. And if you're under the age, there's 100 million people ages 18 to 34 that have Venmo, and there you go. So you're talking about 100. That's a lot. That's a big portion. That's American.
These are the things. These are the things that we need to learn from the evangelical, from the
right, exactly.
Because they were well ahead of us.
Exactly.
In the game for that.
I was an interesting story. Like I was on a spring break trip with my family this year, and we were in Tennessee, and we went to a larger parish there. It was very nice for Easter Sunday, and when it came time for the offertory, the priest just got mentioned, hey, we have a ton of visitors here. We know that. We realize that. If you want to give, if you have cash, great. We realize most people don't have cash. And if you look at the end of every other aisle, there's a card. It's got our Venmo QR. Same thing you do. Yeah. And I mean, I got out and gave, and I bet, if you looked around, hundreds of people were to get. That's money that's low hanging fruit for them. But in order for us,
we're done here, you two will be going across to Venmo. Teresa's got some of the office, by the way. So.
right.
That'd be perfect.
So what we did was, I wanted to incorporate as a tool to reach out to these younger people, to kind of meet them where they're at. Most of these, they don't have checks. They don't have cash. So when we did this most recent, we had a seminarian at St. John Vianney Appeal for Priestly Vocations is what Bishop named it. And it was this past weekend, but it's going on for a couple of weeks. And it's a way for us to support vocations as a whole in the diocese. We put Venmo for the first time. We created a nonprofit charity account through them. And we have it on there. It's been very, very well received in the last week. And it's outstanding because you're looking through the people that gave, and are some of them in our database? So, people have given before. Yes, but a lot of them aren't too. So you're reaching people who haven't given before, who might not have given, but they saw that and something resonated. Oh yeah, I give it. I can do that. Even if it's $10, that's great. That's absolutely great because now you're part of it. Like you've come into the fold, and that $10 from you might be the same as someone giving $1,000.
Yeah, somebody said to me, apart from the masses, I don't think that we're talking about the masses. Somebody said all the audio, the visual stuff I do now, that we should put a Venmo thing up rather than asking about people signing up for Patreon. I should just put a Venmo thing up, or get T-shirts with Venmo.
Right.
So people can click on the QR code.
There you go. So. Yep. But it's more than just a way to make money. The way I look at that is we're bringing people into the fold. We're giving people connecting. We're connecting. Yeah, exactly. And these are the people that there's a lot of talk about the transfer of wealth in this generation right now, and it's going to be the largest transfer of wealth to another generation. Well, these are the people that the wealth is eventually going to come to, and we have to, it might not be in their DNA necessarily to give or to give the church or to carry cash or to write checks and mail checks in like it is for a lot of people. But okay, now we've met you where they're at. They're part of it. They get in the habit of giving. And, their friends see that they did that in Venmo, then all of a sudden maybe they're encouraged too. And there's a little bit of a snowball effect, but it's a wonderful way to, like you said, connect and bring people into the fold. So there's an evangelization part of it.
So what are some of the things, if you're able to talk about them, what are some of the major things that are on the bishop's wish list? If you're able, if you're not able to, then don't, obviously.
Absolutely.
Right? But if there is there some kind of here's what I really would love.
Right. And this is a great thing to talk about. And again, this is what I often get excited about because it's above and beyond what CSA does. CSA, because we had the Vianney appeal, and people are like, well, doesn't CSA cover that? Well, yes, CSA covers vocations the bare minimum. It covers, a salary for an assistant, and it covers the ability for there to be lights on and things like that. Doesn't have the ability to cover all the rest of this. But if we need more seminarians, more money has to come into that, and we need more money to put them through school. So these are the things above and beyond. So to answer your question, I think obviously, the whole thing with the pastoral plan, like vocations became under the spotlight. We need more priests. So that's one thing that people have been very receptive to, and is right at the top of the bishop's list is can we better fund vocations? We partnered with a group called the St. John Vianney Institute that basically is out there working with different dioceses to spread the word and spread the message for vocations. And I don't know all the ins and outs of exactly how they do it with the young men, but I knew they do a fantastic job.
They do.
The numbers back it up.
Yeah, they gave a presentation to us last year at the convocation.
Yeah, and they're wonderful people. I was able to meet their director when he was up for a Quo Vadis, a retreat that they have.
But just on that, actually, that was all initiated by that couple that left 100,000.
Yes.
Why
Yeah.
was that not turned into why was that not turned into an endowment?
There was a portion that they wanted specifically for that.
And I mean, that hadn't occurred to me until I've got you sitting in front
Yeah.
of me, and I was thinking, okay, 100 grand fritters away pretty quickly nowadays,
Right.
isn't it? I mean, you can't even buy a house for that, can you? Right? So
Yeah, they actually gave a very substantial gift. They actually put $1 million into our seminary and vocation trust fund, which is
Right.
an endowment
Okay.
fund that we have
okay,
for the diocese. But again, that's only a portion of it.
Right.
And
Right.
so that was a portion of their gift, and then another portion of their gift went specifically to this project.
right, okay.
It's beautiful. It's wonderful.
It is.
Some people hear these figures. Some people, sadly, and maybe they won't watch this, but they might listen to it, because you actively have to search out. Of course, whereas on the radio, we're just on the radio, right?
Right.
Why have we got CSA at all? We've got all this money.
Sure. Well,
So
the money. So the money that's in a lot of these endowments is earmarked for certain things, and obviously it's there and being invested. And one of the things I wanted to note too that part of my role is I'm a non-voting member of the Diocesan Finance Council and then the Diocesan Investment Committee. And having sat in on some of the foundation meetings and been involved in those, we actually have a meeting tomorrow for the investment committee. Just how far and how much detail is paid to where these investments are made. Both the foundation and the diocese work with a group called Cap Trust, and the investments are vetted. They're specifically to Catholic causes.
I'm glad you brought that up, Dave, because I meant to
these aren't going to questionable companies.
I meant
That's not
to
where the money's
I
coming
meant to
from.
ask Tom.
So I went off your question there, but
No, I meant to ask Tom about that. About can you assure people as much as you can that if they give money, it's always the way you get your interest and things on it's always things that are morally acceptable to us. And part of the reason why I'm asking that is because I'm going to try and be delicate here so I don't get sued. But back when Pope John Paul asked for an investigation of the finances of some of the female religious communities in America, they wouldn't let them see the finances. And there's been a couple of reasons that have come to light. One was because one of them was investing in armaments, and another group of sisters, they were investing in Planned Parenthood, and they didn't want the Holy See to see. So it's a very valid question to be.
Yeah, and that follows for both of us. I think from the diocese perspective and ours, every investment that we have, we partner with Cap Trust, and they are picked by the Michigan Catholic Conference. So they manage all of the Michigan Catholic Conference money, and every investment that they make follows the United States Catholic Council of Bishops guidelines, and that may be coming from some of the those events that took place from where their guidelines are. So everything we invest in is followed that guidelines, and it's all socially responsible screened. So everything that we have is what we believe in as Catholics, and that's a big deal. I mean, if we're going to support Catholic causes,
has there been any occasions where a company's gone rogue and you've had to say we're done with you?
I don't know if I can answer that specifically, but I'm certain that has taken place, and part of the screening that goes on that Cap Trust does,
an ongoing screening.
Ongoing screening.
Right.
And there's different types of screening that they do, as far as active investments, potential investments. Where can we make a difference? Can we evangelize some of those companies or some of those things that are there if we have a seat at the table if they're investing? So there's a lot of different strategies that go on when you're thinking about where your money is. For endowments, like our portfolio is a little bit different than the diocese portfolio. Mm-hmm. And that's done on purpose because, we talk about, you listen to Dave talk, and I wrote down today and tomorrow, because it's really kind of the difference. I mean, we're not in competition. We work hand in hand together. Yeah. Dave is raising money for events that need to go on today.
Yeah.
We're raising money for tomorrow. So we have, and there's a way to balance that. And we both do it. So if we're talking to individual donors, if people have different conversations and they have an interest in it, kind of warm hands giving, where they think about, I want to see my money in action immediately.
Yeah.
Then we might find a project that Dave is working on that it may work, or they're able to
So you
do-
recommend you
back and
people
forth
Absolutely, all
yeah.
the time.
all the time. Yeah.
Okay. Could someone, if they wanted, say there's a family out here watching who've got foundations, which does happen, right? Because I sometimes get gifts from foundations, and they wanted to sponsor a seminarian. Could they?
That's a great question. We haven't done something before where you sponsored a specific seminarian, but we had a beautiful example last week where there was a couple in our diocese, and they made a gift. They received the materials for the vocations appeal, and the cost right now is around $65,000 a year. When you look at the education, the insurance that's involved, it's $65,000 to educate a seminarian for a year. Well, they sent us a gift for $65,000 and said, we want to just take one seminarian off the plate for this year. We want to do that. We want, like, we can afford it. We want to just like sending a child to school. We want to put a seminarian through for 1 year. And so it's a beautiful thing. It's just such a wonderful, generous thing to do for the church now.
Do you think they would like to send me back to seminary?
Hey, we can ask. but so I mean, we haven't done a thing before where we've sponsored someone by name.
Yeah.
But something like that. I mean, just I shared that with all the seminarians because I'm like, hey, this is the stuff that's
Well,
happening.
they need to be praying every day for that couple.
Absolutely.
By
So
name, by name, they should be doing it every day on their knees. Yeah, because priesthood starts on your knees. It doesn't start in the book. It starts on your knees.
Absolutely.
And so they should be praying for all you guys as well by names. They should know who are the individuals who are making this possible for us, and they should be naming. They should have lists of names that they're praying for people. It's all very well to say, "Thank you, Lord, for the people who put food on the table." Well, no, they're actual people staying awake at night, worrying about how will they get money to keep this going. Because no priests, we won't have the Eucharist, we won't have the Lord. These are essential, and after all, that is the core of what you're both doing. It's about maintaining a healthy church. And it does involve light bulbs, right? Parking lots, air conditioning, clothes and things. It involves all those things, but at the core of it all is we need people to pray for both of you as well. So if you can't give money, I always tell people this: the 3 T's of tithing: time, talent, treasure. Right. So people might be listening to this; they might not have the treasure. Although in a second you both could say, what's the smallest amounts that you'd be willing to have people get on board with. But some people don't have the treasure, fixed incomes, etc. Talent. There are ways. You talked about your board. You talked about your networking. If there are people out there who feel, I'm sure you feel this, Dave, if there's people out there who have got connections, who maybe there's somebody out there who's got a bus license and can get you a bus and is willing to cover that, taking people to somewhere. Yeah. And then there's time. And every single person listening to this, watching this, has time to pray for the success of these missions. That money's only ugly if it's used for bad things. Absolutely. If it's used appropriately and it's used for the greater glory of God, we can't do anything just with good wishes. We need people. Sometimes I've sadly heard, and I've had this feedback from people, heard priests say about how rich people not getting to heaven. That's not what the Saviour said. He said it's difficult. He didn't say it's not possible. Right. And frankly, there are some poor people that would steal the enamel off your teeth. Right. Right. They're not getting to heaven because they're poor. They're getting to heaven because you're holy. Right. And the problem is, of course, that wealth can cause you to have distractions. But there are some very good, I would say, borderline, if not, I hate to presume, but holy people who live within our diocese who give, and people shouldn't say, well, they give because they can afford it. Some of these people are given, and they're given hard, and it's large amounts, and it's the equivalent. Some people who give smaller amounts are given the equivalent of these large amounts, but there are plenty of people out there who give, who see the purpose of the mission, right? That the mission is about how we're going to get to heaven. We're going to get to heaven if we have priests, good priests, well-trained priests, who don't have to worry about finances. This is one of the things about. So I was a manager. I was a charge nurse, and I was a NHS. I was a hospital manager. So I think actually I might be the only priest in our diocese that actually had a management background that didn't own the company.
Okay.
Right. So was answerable, was in
Sure.
higher level middle management though, was answerable. Right.
Yeah.
So when I come to parishes, often the staff will say the way I deal with people, it's very good, and how you plan things and stuff like that. Right. But there's no class in seminary. This is something I think for you both to think about, but definitely I'm going to throw this out here. This is some of the conversation I had with Bishop Breaker. There's no class in seminary that tells you how to balance a checkbook, never mind huge amounts, right? Quite a lot of the guys that go to seminary, the only thing they've ever bought is a second-hand car, right? They've never bought a house. They don't understand the ongoing need for, rather than put a Band-Aid on something, could we fix it before it gets broken? And this is something that I find it very frustrating in dealing with many people within the diocese. My brothers are diocesan priests. Well, one of them's not, he was a missionary, but the others are diocesan priests. And the whole basis of what you're doing is, can we fix it? Can we do something about it rather than bailing water out the bucket all the time? Right? I would throw out to you, Dave, that in the summer, the seminarians you should get them together somewhere and discuss, get Tom to go tell them about finances, you tell them about how the appropriate way to raise money, and you have somebody come teach to see, do they actually know their way around the kitchen? Can they cook? Can they use a washing machine? Can they use an iron?
You won't want me teaching those things.
No. You want the appropriate people to do those things, right?
Yeah.
But I think that doing that for like 5 days, take them to the Augustine Cencer or something like that, you'll find volunteers will come forward to say, I'll happily come and speak to them. Tom would do it, of course. So I'll speak to them about finances, about raising money, about why investments are important. The sooner these guys can be made aware of this, the better.
Right.
And the other things, the health, right? Health involves, can they actually cook a meal, or are they going to go out and eat all the time? These are all developmental things.
Absolutely.
That you will definitely bump into people, like somebody owns a restaurant. Well, could you host the seminarians, watch them cook?
Right?
It's
great.
It's because these are the things I keep finding. You too must find this. You're dealing with the clergy, and you're thinking, oh dear, this man's never owned anything in his life.
Yeah, that's kind of...
How he's never invested anything in his life. How can he encourage someone? How can he sell it if you've never sold something? How can you
If
actually?
you've never raised money, if you've never had to raise money for anything, how are you going to do it? What's the plan?
And
What's the process?
and falling back into the excuse, I wasn't ordained to do this. Well, yeah, you might not have been, but shut up and get on with it.
Yeah.
Right? And if you don't know, then ask men who do, right? Or women, ask people who do, right? That's it's not whether or not, it's not what you've got as your own limitations. It's, do you have the humility, which we're all supposed to foster in our faith? Do you have the humility to actually turn around and say to someone, listen, Dave, this CSA thing, what am I supposed to tell people? What am I supposed to
Right.
How am I supposed to do it?
What's the best practice for
Yes,
this? How do I do it?
Yes.
And that's one of the things that I think is really fun about my job too, is that we're there to help the parishes at the end of the day. And I love, like, most parishes in our diocese don't have the ability to, or the know-how to take a stock gift, but people in their parish might want to give a stock. Well, that's what I'm here for. So I let them reach out to me. We'll get the gift, we'll sell it, we'll talk with the church.
But
we'll give the money to the parish.
as I mentioned to you, I think I said it to Tom the first time I met him, actually off camera, so I'll say it on camera, that the attitude of it's us against Big Brother, right? Which some priests, and they certainly a lot more did, but some priests do that to try and curry favour with, I'm in this together with you people.
Sure.
Well, it's not as a Big Brother. You actually touched upon this when you started talking. You made it. It's the parish, the diocese, the country, the church, and by country I mean the our bishops together. It's not. I'm living in, to use, since I love using my Lord of the Rings Tolkien thing, we're in the Shire and you ain't getting in. Right? Because I've got the Shire guarded. That's there's no place for that in Catholic. I mean, the word Catholic means universal, right? So there's no place in that. And that's why it's important to have you two point out, we work together, we refer people to each other. We're in this together. We're all supposed to be evangelizing. We're all baptized, priest, prophet, king, priest, which means that we're all there offering sacrifice, trying to get the mission, right? And this is the thing, and I'm glad to have met you because you're enthusiastic, as was Chance as well, right?
Yes.
Right. But the mission, I mean, we've got the best product in the world, right? The one true faith.
Yeah.
If we can't get people to invest in it, if we can't get people to want to be engaged in it, it's not the product's problem, right? It's us.
Right. It's us.
It's us, right? And that's why we should be enthusiastic. Doesn't mean that everything always ticks along great, Valley of Tears and all that, but we've got such a great product. Now, one of the things I know Tom can talk about it. I would imagine you can as well, Dave. Wills. Could you guys?
Yeah, it's an area that we have started doing these, and I got this idea from. There are many other foundations like us across the country, and I belong to the consortium of Catholic foundations.
Okay.
And what that means is that I believe we have 73 members of other Catholic foundations like us across the country. We get together once a year, have a meeting, and I got it from Grand Rapids and the West Michigan Catholic Foundation. They started doing events called Wine and Wills, and I loved it. It was a Wednesday night. I mean, there was appetizers and wine, but it was to talk about wills, talk about planning your estate, talk about what does it mean to your life planning workshop. And so we kind of took that, and we've started doing life planning workshops. And so at that life planning workshop, and we're doing them at parishes, we'll work with our priest, and we have one coming up in Alpena next month, where we talk about having your Catholic funeral, how to plan it at your parish, right? What do you do? So we'll invite funeral homes there. We ask the parish to talk about specifics. Jamie Truax, who was part of the diocese and running the cemetery side, would come and speak. And it's an area that we don't talk a lot about. And you need to plan your funeral and start thinking about that. Then we have a small segment on estate planning and planning your will. 70% of Americans, so 70% of our parishioners do not have a will. They don't have a plan. And that's one of the greatest dividers at time of passing. So when my mom passes away, I need to make sure that her estate is planned, because I don't want to lose connection with my family.
I'll tell you this before you carry on. This is from a priest point of view, it's a huge problem, because faithful Catholics are dying, and because they haven't put it in writing, their children aren't having funerals for them.
Right.
It's appalling, absolutely appalling. I mean, strong, faithful Catholics, And because they haven't got a will, or they haven't put it in writing, or they haven't spoken to a funeral director, and families are just saying, no, we'll have something at the graveside. It's appalling thing. Anyway, sorry.
And we're working with the funeral homes to help. How do you pre-plan your funeral? How do you do that? And all of our local funeral homes all have plans that they can work through with that. So if we're touching on those two areas, and then I kind of close the meeting with how to leave your Catholic legacy, and how can you contribute to your parish? How can you leave your annual, like I mentioned earlier, if you think about leaving enough money in an endowment or a portion of your estate to an endowment at your parish, your annual giving will be there forever. And that's one of the beautiful things. I mean, an estate gift truly is a gift of love. You are thinking about your parish as one of your kids for the rest of into perpetuity, and you are going to financially be able to support that forever. And so it's an area that we're working on, and there are several different things out there. My Catholic Will, Free Will. There's different organizations that have online wills that you can create.
Yeah,
and we're vetting some of those.
I got an email from St. Paul's, the Scott Hans group.
Yeah.
I think was it My Free Will, My Free Catholic Will.
Yeah, there's several different organizations like that out there, and we're vetting those to try to find out, do they work? Are they good for us? Are they, how does that work? But more than anything, so we've started doing these life planning workshops, and the results that we've seen for anybody that currently has an endowment for us, or bringing people into the idea of creating an endowment or a thought process of where it goes. Every one we've done, there's been some sort of change where people have said, wow, it's kind of, you mentioned light bulbs, not just the light bulbs that we're trying to fix, from like,
put them on,
but for the mind. I mean, if we have
sure.
a light bulb that goes off and then people start thinking about it, everyone has had that. We had after one of the life planning workshops we had a couple come up and decide to create an endowment for youth ministry at their church, and they did it in honor of their granddaughter who passed away at birth.
Absolutely, yeah.
So they're giving to it annually,
yeah.
And then they change their IRA. So at the time of their passing, there will be enough money into that fund where they will be able to take care of every youth ministry need at their parish.
Right.
And that was after one of those meetings. And so that's not the real. I mean, it's not the real reason that we're doing those. I really want our parishioners to be able to have their will planned and done, and at least start the process. I mean, it's work, and when it's time. I had a life insurance agent that I was working with prior to coming here. I was working in the foundation at Munson Healthcare, and I worked, and it was great. We raised money for a lot of capital causes and all those kind of things. But he told me then, and it's while I was working there, he looked at me and I said, gosh, these are really hard conversations to have, to kind of talk about planning your funeral and planning your death and what are you doing. And he looked at me and he said, Tom, but if you do it in Christ's eyes and you do it with their thought process on their timeline, it's a great conversation. It's an adult conversation, and they'll be ready to have it. And those are things we're willing to do.
Yeah, I'll tell you, this is a true story. It's about Padre Pio. So you'd be too young to remember, but Tom might remember. How old are you, Tom?
55.
So you might know who I'm talking about. There was an Italian actress. She actually, I think she died last year. She was 98 or something. Gina Lollobrigida. Right. So anyway, she was a sex symbol. Probably in Italy more famous than Sophia Loren, who was much better known in the English-speaking world. And she went down when she was about 18. She already was a star in Italy then, and she went down to see Padre Pio. And people used to line up all the time to go to confession, Padre Pio. And there was a whole lot of paparazzi, actual paparazzi, with it being an Italian word, right? Mm-hmm. And Padre Pio came out, and Gina Lollobrigida went up and said to him, everybody says that you're a really holy man, say something holy. So he looked at her, and he went like this. Death is never far away. You have time to change while you can breathe.
Wow.
So, that is true.
It is very true.
Right?
It's really true.
So, when you're talking about a will and about preparing for death, because I was going to say to you, if you're having them in the parish, you should encourage the priest right after saying, by the way, I'll have an hour of confession
Yeah,
afterwards.
absolutely.
Because, well, memento mori,
Yeah.
right? Remember the dead, right?
Right.
We have that. It is something we should remember. Wills for the diocese,
right? Not as prevalent as they are with NMCF. A lot of times, depending on if someone brings that up, or if we bring it up to someone, and there's a specific cause they want. A lot of those are things that already have endowments set up for. So a lot of times we might reference them to Tom.
Okay.
But there are certain circumstances where people have left things to the diocese, and it can be creative. It can be we had a person leave a home to the diocese, and
well, that could be a nightmare as well, can't it?
Could be a nightmare.
Because we had somebody leave us. We had somebody give us a car recently.
Oh, that's not.
And that wasn't. It was a lot. Eventually, we managed to find somebody on all, but it actually ended up costing us not as much as the car was worth, but it ended up costing us as a parish.
The cleanest way, obviously, is to do it the traditional way, and but the majority of the situations are ones that just working hand in hand with Tom. But NMCF has a fund set up, so it's easier for us to have them set that up.
Leaving a home is something I've got to bring this up. We just had one of our priests, Father Denny Stillwell, who left his home to the NMCF, and in so creating an endowment for the homeless. What a beautiful gift to be able to think about, and it's going to be for the homeless within our diocese. And we'll create a grant process where people will be able to apply for it. We have, hopefully, Father Denny, we have a lot of time, before that comes to fruition.
Was the plan to rent it out and use that as endowment, as top up the endowment, or to sell it?
We'll sell it and then put it in the endowment for the seeding purpose to start the endowment at that time. But that's an avenue for people, right? You talk about people that can give to our endowment. Yeah. There are many people that don't have next of kin or don't have a place to leave it. Think about leaving your home to your parish.
Or they have next of kin who are very comfortably well off.
Correct. Yes. And they don't need it.
Correct.
And that's something people should bear in mind.
Right.
If, by the grace of God, your children have done very well, then why not give it to the church? Yeah. Is there anything that you feel we haven't covered? Anything you want to mention? Let's give your websites again and ways to contact.
Yes. For the diocese, if you go to dioceseofgaylor.org, and then there's a give tab right there, right at the top, that takes you right to the development department's page, and my contact information is on there. But my email is dcencer@dioceseofgaylor.org, and my last name is Cencer, so dcencer@dioceseofgaylor.org. And our office number in development is 989-705-3555. But all that information is right on our website as well.
Tom, again?
Yeah, you can reach us at nmcatholicfoundation.org, and there's a give button right there online right now. We're in the process of redoing our website, so we'll have a new website within the next 2 or 3 months, which will make it a lot easier for you to give on there. Every one of our funds is going to have their own individual link, so they'll have their own QR code. So we'd be able to put a QR code. You think about the shrine in Indian River, the number of visitors that they have there. They'll have a QR code that people can donate, right online if they choose to do so.
Okay. This will be one for you, Dave. So say someone's watching this and they're saying, well, I don't want to give to CSA then. I'll give to the foundation because I think the foundation, that's a better use of my money. I think it is possible somebody might say that. And even though we keep saying it's not an either or, right?
Yeah.
What would you say to that?
Well, again, just the difference between the two. Like when you're giving to the foundation, you're giving to the future of the church. When you're giving to CSA or a lot of the causes that the bishop has, the diocese working on, you're giving to the right now in the church and the ability for the church to operate and the ability for, to help the souls here right now in northern Michigan today to work their way to heaven. And that's such an important mission. And we're here in this time right now. God put us here in this time right now for a reason. And that's our mission in life, is that, get our soul to heaven, help other people get to heaven. So I would say it's not either or, it's a both and. So just, it doesn't have to be a large gift, but find a way to, support the church in its current mission, and then think about ways that you can help the church in its future mission as well.
What about people who would say, I would rather give 1,000 to my parish than give 500 to my. Now, in my experience, rare are the people. There are people who say it, but rare are the people who do what I'm just saying, right? But that I would rather give more to my parish than give it to CSA.
Sure. And that's where again what we try to emphasize, and we do a lot of my job is helping parishes increase their giving or finding ways to help a parish help themselves. But CSA is meant to support the diocese in its efforts to directly support parishes. So that's what people don't realize. Like the faith formation team, your religious education, all this stuff originates from the diocese. Your ability to have extraordinary ministers of the Eucharist, all these things. It's all
a parish against the
diocese. Right. We're all working hand in hand.
The parish is part of the diocese.
Right. And so many services are centralized, within the diocese that that team then goes out and helps the parish. And I love working on our CSA videos that we do every year. If you go to our website, you can find them right there because we highlight 5 different stories every year of where CSA dollars are actually helping specific people and specific parishes around the diocese, and they're great stories, and people love seeing it because it kind of puts a face and to hey, this isn't just us giving money to the diocese. This is us giving money that now we have a religious education family faith formation night because of this, or we have pilgrimage opportunities or whatever it might be. We have cemetery assistance all because of this, and it really kind of personalizes it.
I've got one for you.
Yes.
Why would somebody want to give to your foundation rather than give to cancer relief?
That's a great question. If you're going to give cancer relief, it's an important effort and it's part of it. But if you don't support the church long term, we're not going to be here either to do it in a method. Cancer research is not going to be done in a method with you to still get to heaven. And so it's an important piece. Cancer research is important, but making sure that your church is here forever is equally as important, or probably more important.
It's more important. So I mean, that's a terrific answer. It's exactly the answer I do give to people to say that to me. What about giving to the cat and dog home?
Cats and dogs. I have a dog, but again, the same answer.
Actually, a much more fundamental answer, really, right? But yeah,
you need to take care of your church. I mean, our cats and dogs are, they're a part of families, and they're a part, and I recognize how important they are, to people's lives. But without a true Catholic,
it's part of the
mission.
It's part of the mission.
It's who we are.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to support your church, and you need to be able to support us. And so you asked Dave that question earlier about, why would they give to either one of us? And I think the real answer, and Dave touched on it earlier, but the bottom line is give. And we have to continue to get our folks in a thought process of giving now so you can continue, like the great transformation of wealth in our philanthropic world is going to happen. And there's different numbers. $83 trillion is a number that's often thrown around. The amount of the transformation of wealth that's going to happen in the next 15 to 20 years. And a lot of that is going to be done by people that are passing. And so their estates are going to be passing down. They're going to be leaving them to our kids. And if we don't educate and get our kids and meet them where they are now and make sure that they have the understanding of how important it is to give and how important it is to continue to support the things that make you who you are. And our Catholic faith is so important. And we haven't done a great job of it in the Catholic Church as far as asking people to consider leaving the church as part of your estate. We haven't done a good job of that. We raise money and we continue to do that all the time, but leaving money to your church as a long-term gift. And that's where we come in. And that's why we work hand in hand. And that's why it's a good relationship. We're not after the same money. We're not after, CSA dollars, or we're not after, we're a partner, and we're both resources. So we can both help in so many different ways.
Okay. Now, from what the feedback I get, right, so whether it's watching this or listening to me through podcast or whatever, very few of our clergy actually listen to me or watch me, but obviously a lot of laity do. So if somebody's watching this and they think my parish or my priest would benefit from having Dave or Tom or both come, or we as a finance, if they're watching this and they're on the parish finance, how would they do it? Could a layperson invite you to come? Well, you can go anywhere you like, right? But presumably you need an invite, whereas you don't. You can just turn up somewhere, can't you?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah,
you can, because
absolutely.
you're doing the bishop's work, right?
Right.
So, what would you suggest would be their process
Sure.
for?
I think we both do that quite a bit. Like I spend a lot of time meeting with parish finance councils, helping with different causes of different parishes when they
But
have.
these will be councils with priests that are engaged.
Right.
I'm talking about
just a layperson.
Well, I'm talking about if someone's in a parish where
Right.
where it's just not happening.
Well, I'd say
Right.
reach out. At least start that conversation. Reach out to me. Let us let's talk through it and see where that leads, because we're here to help, and that's what people need to realize.
Yeah, we can do that together. If you reach out to us and have a conversation, I'm going to encourage you to reach out to your pastor and have a conversation with your pastor. And then I'm going to be able to say, hey, is it okay for me to use your name? And if it is, great. If it's not, that's okay. But then I'll follow up with the pastor and say, hey, I had a conversation with somebody from your parish and they reached out and we want to come and talk. I just want to let you know what we do, how we can help, and we can be a resource for
I
you.
mean, I'm particularly also thinking about, well, at least maybe a third of our parishes have either guys who are nominally retired or are not Americans.
Right.
And so I'm sure these kind of things are not happening in rural Nigeria. They might be happening in Lagos, for example, the capital, right? But so these guys might not even know that there is these resources out there to help them.
Sure.
In fact, they might not even really know what CSA is. They might have just been told by somebody it's a tax,
Right.
which it is not.
It is not.
No. So that's really, so I'm encouraging people who are watching this. Now, if you're not from our diocese, if you're somebody who watches this or listens to me out with our diocese, most dioceses now in the States would have somebody in your position.
Correct.
Wouldn't they?
Yes.
Somebody, you said there's 73 foundations?
There's 73 that are part of the consortium, but there's more that are not a part of our consortium. So if there's somebody else out there, reach out, because I can certainly help connect you with a Catholic foundation that is local in your area.
Okay. And I mean, I suppose they could try you, but they should be able to, through their own local diocesan office, should be able to go on.
Most development people want you to know they're there.
Yeah,
So
yes, that's right. But in some places, maybe it's not been facilitated, because it's not. Yeah, I remember talking to your predecessor about people not really knowing what he did.
Absolutely.
So this hopefully will get it out there that
it's important, and you never know where it's going to come from. You never know where gifts are going to come from or different things. And I use this Wayne Mueller, he used to be the development director for the Grand Traverse Area Catholic Schools. He once told us that we're all in development. And that's when I would spend 18 years as the athletic director at the high school. And we're all in development. We're all raising money. We're all raising friends. We're all raising, creating relationships, and we're doing that. You never know where things are going to come from. You will get transformational gifts from estate giving.
Sure. Transformational.
St. Anselm Frankfurt, for example, they got a gift from a parishioner that passed away, that he was living in Florida at the time of his passing, had not been to Mass there in 20 years, but left a third of his estate. And it was a transformational gift. So anybody that's listening, it's important to have the conversation, reach out, and we'll help you navigate to anybody you can.
Yeah, we actually, here as a parish, we get, some of it's probably got to do with my podcasts, but we get a significant gift from people in Texas. And we're not sure whether that's from them watching us, whether they visited here or not, or whether it's through hearing me and the radio. It was the same in Onaway. I got some very hefty gifts from people who never darkened the door. They just decided they were going to trust me, that what I was going to do was worth giving to, which is it's very humbling.
Very humbling, right?
It's the thing, isn't it? It's a great thing for us because it's so humbling. You're sitting across from people and they're saying things and you're going, oh, say that again. What? How much? What? Yeah. What?
In being in this business, being on the other side of that, with working with people, the joy that people get from giving a gift.
Yeah.
It truly is. It's amazing to be a part of that process.
The more you give, the more you get.
It's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Small amounts.
Hey, I mentioned the Venmo thing. I think the gift I've been most excited about lately, there was a $10 gift from a young person, a young adult on Venmo, never given before. I looked up her and never given a cent to the diocese before, and now she's part of the fold. So there's nothing too small. That $10 gift made me more excited than anything I've gotten in a long time.
It's not quite how it would work for you, would it?
Well, no, absolutely, it's the same. A lot of people will use these gifts, and we'll get new gifts in memory of somebody. They'll use an endowment in memory of a certain individual that may have passed. They'll do that in many different ways. So it does not matter what size of gift. I think the biggest important piece is to start giving.
Yeah, because actually it's habit
That's
forming,
correct.
isn't it?
Yeah.
It was when I was in Manistee. Somebody came. They wanted to give me a washing machine. They bought one and they didn't need it anymore. It was new, and I immediately said to the office manager, "Find somebody that can take that, because if I hold on to it, I'll start thinking about selling it on eBay. So the sooner it goes, the better. Because what you don't have, you don't miss."
Right, exactly.
So,
right.
So, thank you very much, gentlemen.
Yes.
Okay, so that was nearly an hour and a half.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it passed by quickly for you.
Very quickly.
Yes. Did you? No, not yet. Not yet, Heather. Thank you. She woke up partway through that there. No, covered everything, do you think?
Yeah. Yep, I'm happy.
Yes. The workshops for wills and stuff like that. How would people find out about them? Is it a parish? The parishes advertise?
Their parish, individual parishes will advertise it within there. So we try to do it very parish specific.
But would you be willing to let us come and film?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Somebody come and film. That's how I did it. I went to the Wine and Wills event in Grand Rapids.
That's why it popped in my head, Tom.
Yeah.
That's why.
And so I went down to watch that. And so anybody that's interested in doing
when
that,
you're having, could you send me the when if you're having them, and you said there's one next month.
September 15th.
I'm not. I'm actually back in Europe.
Oh, okay.
So doesn't mean I couldn't send
but
a certain person to.
We'll record that.
She loves Alpina.
Ah, perfect. So yeah, actually, Father, it's a great idea. I'll record the one in Alpina, and I'll be able to share it. And people want to talk and think about, what do we do at those events, and we can send that. And we can share that. I know Father Michael in Traverse City, he recorded one, and I'll find out if he's got his when we did his there.
Recorded audio, or recorded the whole.
He recorded video and he recorded the whole thing. So
okay.
I'll find out where he's at with that.
Okay.
So
yeah, that's great. Okay, let's pray. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
And may Almighty God bless you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. St. Matthew, pray for us. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.